The mysterious disappearance of Theodosia Burr Alston. Theodosia Burr Alston was the daughter of the third U.S. Vice President Aaron Burr. Born in June 1783 in Albany, New York, Theodosia was the only child of Aaron Burr and Theodosia Bartow Prevost to survive to adulthood. Renowned for her intelligence and education, she was prepared for a significant role in society, but instead became a symbol of one of history's great unsolved mysteries. Theodosia married Joseph Alston, a wealthy South Carolina planter who would later become governor of the state. Their marriage was marked by tragedy. Theodosia suffered severe health problems following the difficult birth of their son, Aaron Burr Alston, in 1802. Her health continued to decline, and the passing of her son from malaria in 1812 devastated her. In an attempt to recover from this loss and reunite with her father, who had just returned from self-imposed exile in Europe, Theodosia decided to travel to New York. On December 31st, 1812, she boarded the schooner Patriot in Georgetown, South Carolina. The ship, however, never reached its destination. The Patriot, along with Theodosia and the crew, vanished, sparking numerous theories and legends. One prominent theory suggests that the Patriot was caught in a severe storm off the coast of Cape Hatteras, North Carolina. British naval logs from January 2, 1813, document a powerful storm in the area, supporting the idea that the ship could have been lost at sea due to weather conditions. Another theory simply states that the vessel was likely assaulted by the British in the War of 1812, leading to the loss of the vessel at sea. Another theory involves piracy. The early 19th century was rife with pirate activity along the American coast, particularly near North Carolina's Outer Banks. Stories circulated that the Patriot might have been overtaken by pirates, who were notorious for plundering ships and often leaving no survivors. A compelling yet unverified story from 1872 claims that pirate Dominique Yu confessed to capturing the Patriot and forcing Theodosia and the crew to walk the plank. Adding to the intrigue is the so-called Nag's Head portrait. In 1869, a doctor in North Carolina reportedly received a portrait of Theodosia as payment from a dying woman. The woman claimed her husband had found the painting on a shipwreck during the War of 1812. This portrait, believed by some to be of Theodosia in middle age, fueled further speculation about her fate. Yet another story involves an Indian chief who supposedly rescued Theodosia from a shipwreck. According to this legend, a chief in Texas possessed a gold locket inscribed with Theodosia's name, claiming he had rescued her. Although optimistic, this tale remains highly improbable given the location of the alleged rescuer and lacks substantial evidence. Despite these theories, no definitive evidence has surfaced to confirm any single explanation. The Seattle windshield pitting epidemic. In April 1954, Seattle and surrounding areas experienced a strange phenomenon known as the Seattle windshield pitting epidemic. It began in the town of Bellingham, where residents noticed small holes, pits, and dings on their car windshields. Initially attributed to vandalism, with theories about BB guns being widely accepted, the phenomenon soon spread to nearby towns before reaching metropolitan Seattle. As the reports increased, theories about the cause of the windshield pitting became more elaborate and varied. Some suggested cosmic rays or fallout from recent nuclear bomb tests, while others thought it might be due to a new million-watt radio transmitter at the Jim Creek Naval Radio Station. There were even hypotheses about sand fleas laying eggs in the glass or a mysterious atmospheric event. Despite the range of explanations, none could be conclusively proven. By mid-April, the number of reported cases skyrocketed. Close to 3,000 windshields were reported as damaged, leading to widespread concern. Seattle Mayor Alan Pomeroy sought help from Washington Governor Arthur B. Langley and even President Dwight D. Eisenhower. A committee of scientists from the University of Washington conducted investigations and found that the damage was likely due to normal driving conditions. They found that most were caused by small objects striking the windshields. Most of the affected windshields were from older cars, suggesting the pits had always been there, but went unnoticed until the media frenzy brought attention to them. Despite the scientific explanations, law enforcement continued to receive reports. King County Sheriff Harlan S. Callahan and his deputies examined 15,000 cars, finding damage in over 3,000 of them. They discovered odd pellets near some cars that reacted violently when a lead pencil was placed next to them, although the significance of this finding remained unclear. The situation was further compounded by the media, which played a significant role in amplifying public hysteria. As news outlets reported on the epidemic, more people began inspecting their windshields closely, leading to a surge in reported cases. This phenomenon appears to be a textbook example of collective delusion or mass hysteria. Social influence and media coverage is theorized to have caused people to perceive and report anomalies that they would otherwise overlook. The Seattle windshield pitting epidemic abruptly ended by mid-April 1954, as quickly as it had begun. The Phaistos disc is an enigmatic artifact from ancient Crete that was unearthed in 1908 by Italian archaeologist Luigi Pernier in the Minoan Palace of Phaistos. This disc of fired clay is about 6 inches in diameter and features 242 stamped symbols, arranged in a spiral pattern on both sides. The Phaistos disc dates back to the Middle or Late Minoan Bronze Age, approximately between 1850 BC and 1550 BC. It was found in a context that suggests it was part of a religious or ceremonial cache, alongside other Minoan artifacts, including a linear A tablet. The Minoan civilization, known for its advanced art and architecture, inhabited Crete and the surrounding islands during this period. This civilization made significant contributions to the cultural landscape of the Aegean world. Crafted from fine-grained clay, the disc is notable for its unusual method of production. The symbols were impressed into the soft clay using stamps, a technique reminiscent of movable type printing, which wouldn't be seen again until Gutenberg's press. The 45 unique symbols on the disc include images of people, animals, plants, and various abstract shapes. Common motifs are a bell, a walking man, and a cat's head. These symbols have sparked numerous debates regarding their meaning and the language they represent. Some symbols resemble those found in linear A and B scripts, as well as Anatolian hieroglyphs, suggesting a potential connection to other ancient writing systems. Despite extensive study, the disc's purpose and meaning remain speculative. Scholars have proposed a variety of interpretations, from a religious hymn dedicated to a goddess to a calendrical or astronomical tool. Gareth Owens, a prominent researcher, suggests the disc is a religious text dedicated to a pregnant goddess, tying it to Minoan religious practices. Other theories propose it as a legal document, a list of military or agricultural goods, or even a board game. Numerous attempts have been made to decipher the symbols, but no consensus has been reached. Some researchers believe it is a syllabary, a set of symbols representing syllables, while others argue for a logographic system, where symbols represent whole words or concepts. The uneven distribution of symbols and the lack of a comparative Rosetta Stone-like artifact complicate these efforts. This artifact is currently housed in the Archaeological Museum of Heraklion in Crete, where it continues to attract attention and curiosity from visitors and researchers around the world. The killing of Henrik Siwiak. Henrik Siwiak, a Polish immigrant, moved to New York City in 2000 in search of better opportunities after losing his job in Poland. He hoped to support his family by finding work in the U.S. Siwiak settled in Far Rockaway, Queens, and worked various jobs, sending half of his earnings back home each month. On September 11, 2001, Siviak was working at a construction site in Lower Manhattan when he witnessed one of the planes hitting the World Trade Center. Despite the chaos of the day, he secured a job for the evening, cleaning a Pathmark supermarket in Brooklyn. His landlady mistakenly directed him to the wrong location, sending him to Albany Avenue in Bedford-Stuyvesant instead of Albany Avenue in East Flatbush. Siviak arrived in Bedford-Stuyvesant around 11 p.m., far from his intended destination. He walked through a neighborhood that was known for high crime rates, including drug activity and robberies. Dressed in a camouflage jacket and black army boots, he may have appeared suspicious to some residents. Tragically, Siviak was shot several times shortly before midnight while trying to find his way. He managed to ring the doorbell of a nearby brownstone, but no one answered. Regrettably, he succumbed to his injuries on the sidewalk. The investigation into Siviak's case was severely hampered by the events of 9/11. The NYPD was overwhelmed, and the resources typically allocated to a homicide investigation were unavailable. The crime scene was processed by an evidence collection team that usually handled nonviolent crimes, and only a few detectives were available to canvass the area. Despite the circumstances, some evidence was collected, including shell casings. Siviak's wallet contained $75, indicating that robbery was either not the motive or was botched. The police believe that language barriers may have prevented Siviak from understanding any commands or threats made by his assailants. Theories about the motive behind Siviak's shooting vary. Some speculate that his appearance and accent led to a fatal misunderstanding, possibly fueled by heightened tensions and suspicion following the terrorist attacks earlier that day. Others believe it was a case of mistaken identity or a botched robbery. Still others believe it was the work of someone who knew that the police would be overwhelmed, and thus took the chance to opportunistically end Siviak. In the years following the incident, no new leads or witnesses have emerged. The NYPD has continued to offer a reward for information, but as of now, the case remains unsolved. Princess Yong Tai. Princess Yong Tai was a significant figure during the Tang dynasty, renowned for her tragic life and mysterious end. She was the granddaughter of Emperor Gaozong and Empress Wu Zetian, and the seventh daughter of Emperor Zhongzong. Princess Yong Tai was born as Li Xianhui in 684 AD, and despite her youth, she was married to Wu Yanji, a nephew of Wu Zetian, by the age of 16. Her beauty and wisdom were well recognized, making her a beloved figure in the imperial family. However, her life took a dramatic turn when she, along with her husband and brother, was implicated in a supposed conspiracy against Wu Zetian. This led to their abrupt end in 701, when Princess Yong Tai was just 17 years old. The princess may have been forced to end herself, or she may have been put to death. However, an epitaph contained in her tomb indicates that she perished during childbirth, putting further question as to her COD. Following her demise, Princess Yong Tai was initially buried hastily, but in 705, Emperor Zhongzong reclaimed the throne. Princess Yong Tai was posthumously honored and reburied with great ceremony in the Qianling Mausoleum. Her tomb, discovered between 1960 and 1962, offers a rich tapestry of Tang Dynasty art and culture. The tomb's layout is grand, consisting of a main passage, multiple chambers, and intricate murals depicting court life, celestial diagrams, and figures of maids-in-waiting. The murals within Princess Yong Tai's tomb are particularly notable for their depiction of Tang Dynasty elegance. They include images of the princess's retinue and celestial representations on the tomb's roof, symbolizing the integration of the deceased into the cosmos. Despite extensive looting, which began as early as the Five Dynasties period, many artifacts have been preserved, including ceramics, tri-colored figurines, and intricate carvings. It includes a pair of stone lions and ornamental columns outside, leading to a complex underground structure designed to mirror a luxurious residence. This setup was intended to provide comfort and honor in the afterlife, consistent with the beliefs and customs of the time. The true cause of Princess Yong Tai's demise remains an enigma almost a millennia and a half later. Today, the tomb of Princess Yong Tai remains a significant historical site located near Xi'an. The New England Vampire Panic. The New England Vampire Panic was a phenomenon that took place primarily in the 19th century across various states in New England, including Vermont and Massachusetts. This panic was largely fueled by the widespread tuberculosis epidemic, then known as consumption. Tuberculosis was a leading cause of illness and decimation in New England during the 1800s. Symptoms included severe weight loss, a pale complexion, and blood-filled coughing fits, making sufferers appear as though their life force was being drained away. Lacking medical understanding, communities sought supernatural explanations for the relentless spread of the disease. The vampire panic emerged from the belief that deceased TB victims were rising from the grave to drain the life from their living relatives. To halt the supposed vampire attacks, communities performed grisly rituals. These rituals included exhuming the bodies of the recently deceased to check for signs of vampirism, such as a relatively undecayed corpse or liquid blood in the heart. If these signs were found, the heart and other organs were removed and burned. Sometimes, the ashes were mixed with water and given to the sick to drink, in a desperate attempt to cure them. One of the most famous cases is that of Mercy Brown from Exeter, Rhode Island. In 1892, after Mercy's mother and sister died of tuberculosis, her brother Edwin fell gravely ill. The local community suspected Mercy, who had died and been buried just 2 months prior, of being a vampire. When Mercy's body was exhumed, it was found to be well preserved due to the cold winter, with clotted blood in her heart. Her heart was removed, burned, and the ashes were given to Edwin. Unfortunately, Edwin died soon after. Another case is that of Frederick Ransom from Vermont. In 1817, his family, fearing he was causing their continued suffering after his passing, exhumed and burned his heart. This practice, though more common among less educated communities, occasionally occurred even in affluent and educated families. In the 1990s, archaeologists discovered evidence of these rituals in a gravel pit in Griswold, Connecticut. Here, remains of a skeleton with signs of TB had been arranged in a skull and crossbones pattern, a practice believed to prevent the dead from rising. This case highlighted that the vampire panic was not just a series of isolated incidents, but a widespread cultural response to the epidemic. The rituals were likely influenced by European folk practices, brought over by immigrants and adapted by local communities. This period coincided with other superstitions and fear-driven practices that arose from a lack of medical knowledge and the overwhelming desire to protect loved ones. The panic even caught the attention of the press and scholars of the time. The Providence Journal covered Mercy Brown's exhumation, and the story spread internationally, possibly influencing Bram Stoker's 1897 novel, Dracula. Baba Vanga. Baba Vanga, often referred to as the Nostradamus of the Balkans, was a Bulgarian mystic renowned for her predictions. Born Vangelia Pandiva on January 31, 1911, she lost her sight at the age of 12 after being swept away by a tornado, and subsequently found alive with her eyes covered in dirt and sand. Her journey into mysticism began in her teens when she reportedly helped her father locate a stolen sheep through a detailed description of its hiding place. By her early 30s, Vanga's reputation as a clairvoyant grew, and she began receiving numerous visitors, including politicians and celebrities, seeking her prophecies. Baba Vanga claimed her visions were given to her by invisible entities and described a process where she felt a presence, sometimes hearing voices which conveyed information. Among her most notable predictions, Vanga is said to have foreseen the September 11th attacks. In 1989, she predicted that, quote, "American brethren will fall after being attacked by the steel birds. Innocent blood will be gushing." Many interpret this as a reference to the tragic events involving the World Trade Center. Another famous prophecy was her prediction regarding the Kursk submarine disaster in 2000 in Russia. Vanga claimed that Kursk would be covered with water and the whole world will weep over it, a statement made 2 decades prior. Vanga's predictions extended into global politics. She predicted that the 44th President of the United States would be African American, which came true with Barack Obama's election. She also spoke of Europe ceasing to exist by 2017, which some interpret as a prediction of Brexit. Baba Vanga also ventured into the realms of science and extraterrestrial life. She predicted significant scientific advancements, including a cure for cancer involving iron elements, and mentioned contact with extraterrestrial beings. She stated they would arrive on Earth and interact with humans. Despite the impressive accuracy attributed to some of her predictions, skeptics argue that many of these prophecies are either too vague or interpreted post hoc to fit events. There are claims that many predictions attributed to her were fabricated or misinterpreted due to translation issues from Bulgarian and other languages. Throughout her life, Vanga was studied by various Bulgarian and Soviet scientists who were apparently intrigued by her apparent abilities. Some researchers concluded she had an 85% accuracy rate in her predictions, although this figure is widely debated and disputed. Baba Vanga's legacy continues to fascinate people worldwide. Her home in Petric, Bulgaria, remains a place of pilgrimage. She passed away in Sofia, the capital of Bulgaria, in 1996. The birthday effect is a statistical phenomenon where an individual's likelihood of dying or getting into an accident appears to increase on or close to their birthday. Historically, the birthday effect has been recognized across different countries and populations. Studies in the US, England and Wales, Switzerland, and Ukraine have all shown an uptick in mortality rates around birthdays. Researchers have tried to understand this phenomenon by analyzing death records and noting consistent patterns. Several theories have been proposed to explain the birthday effect. One prevalent theory is the psychosomatic or psychological model, suggesting that stress or emotional states associated with birthdays might contribute to the phenomenon. For instance, individuals might experience heightened stress or reflection as they age, which could exacerbate underlying health conditions. This theory is supported by similar increases in mortality rates around holidays, such as Christmas, where emotional stress might play a significant role. Another theory revolves around the body's biological rhythms. Some scientists propose that just as humans have a 24-hour circadian rhythm, there might also be a circannual biological rhythm influenced by the time of year one is born. This rhythm could affect an individual's health, making them more vulnerable to health crises around their birthdays. Statistical explanations have also been explored. One suggestion is that errors in recording dates on death certificates might account for some of the observed birthday effect. Misrecorded dates or placeholder dates could artificially inflate the number of deaths recorded on birthdays. However, the consistent pattern of increased mortality rates immediately before and after birthdays suggests that statistical errors alone cannot fully explain the phenomenon. The Black Annis. Black Annis, a figure rooted deeply in English folklore, is a legendary character primarily associated with Leicestershire. Known by various names such as Black Anna, Black Agnes, and Cat Anna, she is often depicted as a blue-faced hag with iron claws and a sinister presence. Her skin is described as pale blue, likely due to her prolonged dwelling in a cave, and she is often depicted with a single eye and jet-black hair resembling straw. Her most distinctive features include her discolored, razor-sharp teeth and translucent eyes. The origins of Black Annis are shrouded in mystery, with various theories attempting to explain her story. One prominent theory suggests that she might have been inspired by a real person, Agnes Scott, a medieval woman who lived in a cave in the Dane Hills and devoted her life to prayer. This theory posits that the fearsome image of Black Annis evolved from the distorted memories of Agnes Scott. Others believe that Black Annis has roots in Celtic mythology, potentially linked to a goddess. Some legends even suggest connections to Germanic mythology, particularly the figure of Hel, known as the ruler of the realm of the dead. Furthermore, some contemporary interpretations suggest that Black Annis might be a symbolic representation of deeper psychological fears and societal anxieties. Black Annis is often portrayed as a bogeyman figure, used by parents to scare children into obedience. According to local tales, she would reach through windows to snatch children from their homes, a story that led some households in Leicestershire to build small windows to keep her out. One of the most famous stories describes how she would lure children into her cave with promises of sweets, only to trap them with her iron claws. Her cave, known as Black Annis's Bower, was said to be located in the Dane Hills, where she would hang the skins of her prey on a tree outside her lair. The chilling wails and screeches emanating from her cave added to her terrifying legend. In modern times, Black Annis continues to capture the imagination. A notable tradition linked to her legend was the drag hunt, held annually on Easter Monday until the late 18th century. This event involved dragging a dead cat soaked in oil before a pack of dogs from her bower to the mayor of Leicester's house, symbolizing the end of winter. This tradition has fortunately gone the way of the dodo. The Dublin railway slaying. This is a recommendation from Discord community member Lauren Redmond. Join the Discord by clicking the link in the description to interact with the community or leave a suggestion. In November 1856, Dublin was rocked by a sensational case at the Broadstone Railway terminus, known today as the Dublin Railway Mystery. The story centers on George Little, the chief cashier at the railway, who was found dead beneath his desk in a locked office. This incident, marked by its dramatic circumstances and the era's limited forensic capabilities, has fascinated historians and true crime enthusiasts alike. The Broadstone Railway terminus was a bustling hub in Dublin, and George Little was responsible for significant sums of money. On the day in question, Little's colleagues noticed his absence, and after failing to get a response, forced entry into his locked office. They found him lying in a pool of blood, with no weapon in sight and thousands of pounds in gold and silver untouched. This locked room aspect made the case particularly perplexing. The investigation was led by Superintendent Augustus Guy, one of Ireland's most experienced detectives. Guy's approach was notably secretive, a stark contrast to the open methods preferred by Scotland Yard at the time. He restricted information flow to the press, aiming to avoid leaks that could hinder the investigation. This tactic was innovative but also frustrating for the media, which thrived on detailed, sensational reporting. Despite the secrecy, the press coverage was extensive and competitive. Newspapers on both sides of the Irish Sea followed the case avidly, feeding a public already gripped by a wave of high-profile criminal cases. The Freeman's Journal, a leading nationalist newspaper, was particularly detailed in its reports, suggesting it had inside sources within the police force. One notable twist came when a local woman claimed to know the culprit, adding another layer of intrigue. However, the primary suspect became James Spallin, the station's fireman. Spallin's arrest was based on circumstantial evidence, with no clear eyewitnesses or definitive proof linking him to the crime. During the trial, which spanned a week in August 1857, the prosecution attempted to construct a narrative implicating Spallin. They highlighted inconsistencies in his statements and his potential motive, focusing on the financial irregularities at the railway station. Yet, the evidence was largely circumstantial, and the prosecution's case was weakened by premature and erroneous press reports claiming the suspect had confessed. Despite the prosecution's efforts, the trial ended with an unexpected verdict. The jury found Spallin not guilty, citing insufficient evidence to conclusively prove his guilt. No further suspects were ever tried in the case, and George Little's slaying has remained unsolved for a century and a half. Like, subscribe, join the Patreon or YouTube membership, join the Discord, and also check out my Spotify page for lo-fi beats. Shout out to my patrons Noah Schubert, Iced Mocha, Kurt the Squirt, Monoxide Wendigo, Jeffer Metcalf, Z Volts, Jordan All, Franz Tech, Unknown Delusions, Faye, Jack Russell, Boomslang, Spookiest Becky, Vespertine, Metanova, Will Roan, Crab Nebula, and Blasphemous.